I've been told that it's 10 o'clock. That's the time that was noticed and posted for our regular board meeting. It's Tuesday, November the 29th, 2022, and it's 10 o'clock a.m. We're in the Board of Supervisors hearing room, Melody Lane, Bisbee. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. And as always, we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So would you stand and join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. The order or deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at the meeting, and the board may vote to recess into executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3. We begin with the roll call. District 1.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Crosby is here.
District 2, Supervisor English is present. District 3.
Good morning. Supervisor Judd is here.
We have a complete board this morning. Members of the public may attend this meeting by Microsoft Teams computer or mobile app or by phone by calling 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714, conference ID 381-262-151#. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on this agenda, and to speak on an agenda item or during the call to the public, complete and return the speaker request form to the clerk of the board prior to the start of the meeting. Note that some attachments may be updated after the agenda is published, and this means that some presentation materials displayed at the board may differ slightly from the attached version. And we begin with the call to the public, and I have several people. The criteria is that it's not on the agenda, and you have 3 minutes. With the numbers of people we have, I'll call 4. And if you would be ready, the first one is Jeff Sturgis, and he's on Teams. The second is Elizabeth Lopez. She's on Teams. Allison Morris is third on Teams. And fourth is Jennifer Druckmann. So you have 3 minutes, and the first is Jeff Sturgis. Are you available, Jeff?
I'm available.
Okay, the time starts.
I'm Jeff Sturgis from Sierra Vista. Supervisors Tom Crosby and Peggy Judd. For those of us who have witnessed the actions and heard the words of the two of you over the past several weeks, it is ever so obvious that neither one of you have the moral grounding, intellectual ability, or American patriotism needed to handle the duties of such an important government agency as the County Board of Supervisors. Neither of you are up to the task. In fact, in so many ways, you have demonstrated your severe leadership deficiencies while you have made our county's government a national joke. Here are just some of the ways in which you have demonstrated you are unfit to lead this county. You persisted with the illegal hound count fiasco, ignoring the advice of our own county attorney and the warning of Arizona's Secretary of State. You have refused to certify the Cochise County election returns, even though this is a required formality of your office after the Cochise County election director reports them to the Board of Supervisors. You have instructed your Cochise County administrator to sign a contract that puts your taxpayer constituents on the hook for your self-inflicted legal fees by refusing to follow the advice of your own county attorney, Secretary of State, and your wiser, more informed constituents. Therefore, I respectfully again ask you, both of you, to resign. By the way, I want to thank again the chair and English for being the only adult in the room. Both Supervisors Judd and Supervisor Crosby, please leave the room to the adults. Thank you.
Next is Elizabeth Lopez.
I believe I get to respond if I'm mentioned and criticized.
Response to criticism comes at the end of the call to the public.
Okay, just I hope Mr. Sturgis will hang around.
Elizabeth Lopez, you have 3 minutes. Elizabeth Lopez? Your time has started. I'm going to count to 5. We don't have much time to waste here, so 1, 2, 3.
Hello, I'm here.
Okay.
My name is Elizabeth Lopez. I'm from Sierra Vista. Our local newspaper, the Herald Review, recently published an editorial entitled "Supervisors' Assault on Democracy Continues." In it, they compared the behavior of Supervisors Judd and Crosby to a spoiled child who flips the Monopoly board instead of admitting defeat. I think that's a good comparison of how all MAGA Republicans have been behaving since before the 2020 election. Only it's not a Monopoly board they're trying to flip, it's our elections. It's our voice. When the Houston Astros won the World Series this year, I wondered, what would it be like if the Philadelphia Phillies behaved like MAGA Republicans? What if after the Astros won, the Phillies refused to concede? What if their fans stormed the corporate offices of Major League Baseball, beat up security guards, and attempted to find and murder the commissioner of Major League Baseball? What if they chanted, "Hang the umpires"? And if that didn't work, what if they formed a team of fake umpires to certify that the Phillies had actually won the World Series? And if that didn't work, what if they claimed that the scoreboards were illegal because they were not properly certified? What if 2 years from now we still cannot watch the World Series because baseball game deniers continue to insist that scoreboards have not been properly certified? Peggy and Tom, didn't either of you ever have a Little League coach, a parent, or a teacher who taught you that it's important to play fair, be a good sport, and accept the outcome, win or lose? Because as of today, we are still witnessing the fallout of your election-denying tantrums. A recent article from VoteBeat Arizona quoted Supervisor Judd as saying this about our election, quote, "We need to make sure we have drilled down to the lowest level on this," end quote. Oh, Ms. Judd, I think that you have indeed found the lowest level. I think that you, Supervisor Crosby, Recorder Stevens, and all your MAGA Republican allies have drilled yourselves right down to the lowest level possible, rock bottom with Steve Bannon and Donald Trump. Rest assured that your constituents will take the advice of the Herald Review, and we will remember who threatened to nullify our votes and take away our voices. And history will remember that MAGA Republican Robert Montgomery participated in a fake elector scheme to nullify over 10,000 Arizona votes. This assault on democracy will not stand. Thank you.
Next is Allison Morris on Teams.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Your time
Thank
is
you. Good morning. I'm Allison Morris from Portal. The purpose of the November 18th Board of Supervisors meeting was to certify and canvass the election results from Cochise County. Instead, the meeting was hijacked and monopolized by 3 attention-seeking men from Maricopa County who merely repeated allegations about our voting machines that had first surfaced during the long, heated meeting of October 24th. These men had brought the same issues before the Arizona Supreme Court multiple times, and each time their claims were dismissed. The Secretary of State has provided exhaustive materials to prove the legitimacy and accuracy of our machines, yet these men persisted, convincing Supervisors Judd and Crosby to delay the canvass once again. Plenty of time had passed to research this matter and come up with proven, verifiable evidence. Clearly, there are other motives at play. The meeting of November 18th set a dangerous precedent. It appears now that any number of Cochise County residents can yield their allotted time to outside representatives, no matter who these people are or what they might claim. I spoke at that meeting, and 30 people supported what I had to say. I assume now that if those same 30 people submit a speaker request form prior to a scheduled meeting, they will all be able to cede their time to well-versed speakers on the topic at hand. We might give our time, for example, to attorneys and legal experts who would be happy to discuss the nuances of our state's Elections Procedures Manual, the Arizona Revised Statutes, or our open meeting law. If each of my 30 supporters yielded their time to these people, we could extend the meeting by 1.5 hours, similar to what happened November 18th and what Mr. Crosby has proposed for December 2nd. Is this now acceptable? The meeting to canvass our election results on November 18th was derailed by election deniers and conspiracy theorists who have been unable to produce any concrete evidence to convince the courts of their claims. It's a shame and an embarrassment, Supervisors Judd and Crosby, that your decisions were biased by such discredited conspiracy theories rather than documented facts. Ultimately, however, it is your constituents who suffer when you delay the process by which their voices are heard. I urge you all to reconsider the meeting guidelines to allow only those individuals who personally complete a speaker request form to speak for 3 minutes and stop allowing outside interferences to take over meetings pertaining to Cochise County issues. Thank you.
Next is Jennifer Druckman. Name and address first, please. You have 3 minutes.
Jennifer Druckman, Bisbee, Arizona. Help. I'm here in Cochise County where the Board of Supervisors is lost in conspiracy theory land and has taken our votes with them. What do they think is wrong with the election in Cochise County? Oh, nothing. There's no problem in Cochise County. The thing about conspiracy theories is that they are illogical. One of Mr. Crosby's chosen experts is going to talk about how the machines haven't been properly certified since like 2017, which would make, say, Mr. Crosby's position here on the board uncertified. Perhaps he would step aside if he's not legitimate and let someone who's in touch with reality conclude the 2022 midterm election. As the Secretary of State has reminded the board, the vote to certify the canvass is non-discretionary. Voting machines have been certified and you have been notified of this fact more than once. So are you really trying to promote faith in elections? Ms. Judd, you have changed your mind at least once a week in the last couple weeks about every illegal step you and Mr. Crosby have taken. And you suggested you might end up in jail. How do you think that's going to give your constituents more faith in the elections? Do you think it gives people a lot of confidence in you when you decide to hold our votes hostage as some sort of protest against problems with voting machines in another county, which have already been resolved and where they have been certified? Ms. Judd is quoted in the New York Times as saying, "Our small counties, we're just sick and tired of getting kicked around and not being respected." Does that give you the right to use the election results of everyone in this county as a pawn? You are also quoted as saying that it's not that you really believe that the voting machines are technically illegal, but that you could use that excuse as a pretext for delaying the certification by saying, quote, "It's the only thing we have to stand on," unquote. What are you talking about? Your job is to certify the election results of Cochise County. That is your job and your duty, and you are failing. Do you think giving your constituents more faith in the voting process when they realize that you just do whatever you think you want to do this week based on whatever conspiracy theory is going? Is everyone in Wilcox a believer in the My Pillow guy? Here's another quote from Ms. Judd. "The Secretary of State calls them conspiracy theories, but a theory is just a fact to be proven. So maybe there'll be conspiracy facts one day." One day when? Our votes were supposed to be certified yesterday. I think the facts are clear that Cochise County election systems encountered no problems during the recent midterms voting process. So where do you get off not certifying our votes? How ironic it will be if it ends up that this gives more seats to Democrats. Thank you.
Next is Cato Daly, and then we have Heather Borman on Teams, Michael Gregory, Christy Brown on Teams, and Michael Brown on Teams. Cato Daly.
Cato Daly, Bisbee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been a resident in Cochise County for 40 years, and I've never seen our county on the national news, and I just heard international news as a clown show. I'm ashamed. CBS News, quote, "Republican officials in Cochise County refused Monday to certify the 2020 elections despite no evidence of anything wrong with the counts," unquote. The Guardian, quote, "Cochise County officials have endorsed claims of voter fraud despite no evidence of problems," unquote. Cleveland.com, quote, GOP officials in Arizona County refused to certify midterm election results. 2 Republican county supervisors delayed the canvass vote until Friday when they want to hear once more about concerns over the certification of ballot tabulators, though election officials have repeatedly said the equipment is properly approved, unquote. Your own elections director has shown you the certificates. CNN, quote, the standoff between officials in Cochise County and the Arizona Secretary of State illustrates how election misinformation is continuing to stoke controversy, unquote. ABC News, Monday's vote in Cochise County could risk the certification of more than 47,000 votes and expose the county to lawsuits, unquote. Fox 10, quote, after hearing from a trio of conspiracy theorists, a court dismissed all of the lawsuits for lack of evidence, but the trio managed to persuade the 2 Republicans on the Cochise County Board of Supervisors that their claims were valid enough to delay certification, unquote. The GOP representatives on our Board of Supervisors are playing politics with our votes, and they know it. If their candidates won, they would not be doing this, guaranteed. They are not fit to be representing voters in Cochise County. Supervisor English, I understand you were formerly an elementary school teacher, and I thank you for that. We really need teachers. I'm sorry you had to come out of retirement to be on the Board of Supervisors, but we need your voice of reason. Thank you.
Heather Borman on Teams. Are you available, Heather?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, your time starts now.
I don't have this written up, so it's off the cuff, but it seems like Supervisor Crosby, you are hanging out with some cronies who either have your mind twisted around or you're part of it. I don't know if you've noticed, but bullying has gone out of style in Arizona. It may still be in style in Florida, but it is not in style in Arizona. So I would really encourage you not to certify the vote of Cochise County, because that will flip one of the House of Representatives seats to a Democrat. Thank you.
Michael Gregory. Your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, Michael.
Well, I'm Michael Gregory. I live in Double Adobe. I would like to start by reiterating a point that Mr. Crosby made recently, that many people in Cochise County do not agree with what they see as a liberal bias in among county decision makers. And there's a prejudice here in favor of so-called critical thinking. In this regard, it's been brought to my attention that there are many members out in our county of the well-known group called the Flat Earth Society. And among these folks, some have put together some information that they find it's very credible evidence that in fact the moon is made of green cheese. I would recommend that our supervisors make time in their meetings for these people, these good people, to present their evidence. Thank you.
Next, Christy Brown on Teams. Are you available, Christy? Christy Brown on Teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're going to move on to Michael Brown on Teams. Michael, are you available? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there any evidence that they're online, Kim?
Madam Chair, not that I'm seeing, no.
Okay, then we'll move on. And I believe that you, Supervisor Crosby, asked to speak in relative to one of the speakers.
You betcha. A republic is what we have as per the Pledge of Allegiance just led by Ms. English at the start of the meeting today. And just because some people don't like me does not mean that I don't like them. And if I smile during your criticism of me, it's because you say Crosby should resign, but I hear, Crosby, you are doing a fabulous job. So thank you very much.
Please, let's not have verbal comments from the crowd. Did these come after the meeting started? Are these for call to the public? Okay. It seems as though we have some additional. Deborah Herzog, Sandra Clark, and Tamara Birch. Those are the three. And so we begin with Deborah. Deborah, are you here? Okay, we'll move on from Deborah, having given her the opportunity. It didn't say she was on Teams, but I guess we could check to see, are you on Teams, Deborah? Hearing nothing, then we'll move on. Sandra Clark, your name and address.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me. And I promise, Miss English, I'll be very polite.
Thank you.
For as long
We
as Mr.
appreciate
Crosby pays attention to those who address him. It's the season to be grateful. So my address to you all is my gratefulness to this great country of ours who allowed me to come before you and call a crook without going to jail. I am grateful for Miss Lisa Mara, who has exhibited incredible decency, wisdom, patience, devotion to our country's laws, and protected our democracy. I am very grateful to the Arizona, my state, beloved state of Arizona, for making sure that democracy survives for another 2 years at least, that we are not going to have election deniers as our Secretary of the State or our governor or the rest of the officers who are so important to protecting our democracy. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak with you again and to let you know that our country is unique in the world, and those who believe that democracy needs to survive are never going to sit down, roll over, and play dead. We are going to fight for it, even if it takes our last breath. Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Tamara Birch. Name, address, and you have 3 minutes, Tamara.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I believe in our democracy and our participation. It's very important. This is kind of last minute response. I was just going to say no to our taxpayers' money paying for all of these court cases. I can't keep track of how many there are now and how much money it would be is inconceivable. All right, but I'm going to refer to the code of ethics that is in the hallway out here. Number 1, to enhance the reputation of Cochise County and its employees, really. So we have our Board of Supervisors, by their illegal votes, have not enhanced our reputation. My son was flying today from Italy to Brussels, and the New York Times and the London newspaper headlines, and huge headlines, were talking about Cochise County and our decision, their decision yesterday. It's showing the world the illegal and uninformed decisions that these Board of Supervisors, Judd and Crosby, are making, and to what consequences, who pays for it. All of our voters in this county may not count, be they Republican, Independent, or Democratic. You have disenfranchised us, but perhaps it'll be a good thing. Maybe we will get a Democrat for Superintendent of Public Instruction, and we'll have another LD6 congressperson. We'll see. Number 3 in the Code of Ethics. let's see, number 2, sorry. That you would treat all citizens and fellow employees with courtesy and fairness. Really, name calling at these meetings, laughing, jeering, just mentioning the name of our president. I mean, who's in control here? I'm a kindergarten teacher and preschool teacher, and all rules are predicated on respect and safety. And I don't feel safe in this room. I don't feel respected in this room when people that have the right to speak are made fun of. The next code of ethics. Let's see. Number 8, county employees should not be influencing the general public for political purposes. There are obviously conflicts.
Your time is up,
Thank
Cameron.
you.
Thank you. Okay, Tim, is that the last of the call to the public?
Madam Chair, I believe that is the last, yes.
Okay, then we will move on. We have a consent agenda, and that's items 1 through 5. Do I have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I move we approve consent agenda items 1 through 5.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and recorded, and so we move on now to the regular agenda items. And we begin with the public hearings, and the first one is, or both of them are in development services today. I noticed that Mr. Kirschman is here with us. Thank you for being with us, Robert. Do I have a motion so that we can discuss it and open the public hearing?
Madam English, I move we adopt resolution 22-30 to approve docket CPA 22-03 SR80, a minor amendment to the comprehensive plan growth areas and land jurisdiction map of the Cochise County Comprehensive Plan, and adopt zoning ordinance 22-23 to rezone parcel 120-18-009B and a portion of parcel 120-18-009A from R18 residential 1 dwelling per 18,000 square feet to GB general business pursuant to the application of Mr. Andrew Goodman.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'm now going to open the public hearing on resolution 2230. Mr. Kirschman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a rezoning and a comprehensive plan amendment request in the St. David area. The applicant is Mr. Andrew Goodman. It's located near the intersection of State Route 80 or Patton Street and Sybil Road. It is currently zoned R18, and the applicant is requesting to go with GB. And some of the exhibits we'll see, there's already a portion of it zoned GB, but after discussions with staff, they would be able to design a better site, having additional area of general business to develop. It is in growth category C rural. There's no proposed change to that, but it is designated as neighborhood conservation, which does not allow the general business designation. And so the request is to change it to developing. It's located in the St. David area plan. This portion of the property is vacant. There is a mobile home park located directly north of the site. And the proposed use is a gas station, though all commercial uses would be allowed. So this is the site. For those that are familiar with the area, it's the large grassy area in front of the Apache Mobile Home Park. The area that is highlighted there in blue, that is already zoned general business. And so the proposal is to extend the general business a little bit to the north, closer to their park, and then over to Sybil Road. This is the comprehensive plan, so it is currently designated neighborhood conservation north of Patton, and south it is rural residential. As I mentioned, this is the zoning map, so you got the general business there in the red, and then the rest is zoned R18, which is 1 dwelling per 18,000 square feet. This is a concept site plan. As I mentioned, the general business would have cut it down to this area, and so the applicant and staff were looking at different options, and this would be the best layout for what they're proposing. Again, all commercial uses would be allowed, but it is currently proposed to have some RV fueling stations in the back, a canopy in the front, as well as a convenience store and possibly a quick serve restaurant with drive-through. These are some of the elevations. The applicants indicated they're very concerned about having the architecture kind of fit into the area and, again, concepts. Staff reviewed the request and it does comply with 14 of the applicable rezoning factors. The request would be in keeping with the character of the existing area. There is existing commercial uses as well as the higher density mobile home park adjacent to this request. It would provide additional area for commercial development in St. David. This is a logical extension of the commercial zoning district, and then we've received 3 letters in support. We did receive 1 letter in opposition to the request, and the request does not comply with 1 factor, and that is the St. David Comprehensive Plan does not allow for general commercial anywhere within inside of its district. However, all commercial zoning in St. David is general commercial. So the St. David Area Plan does not comply with the existing zoning that's been there since adoption of the plan. Just some site photos. Again, it's that grass area in front of the park. We've got Civil Road there on the bottom left and State Route 80 or Patton Street top right. The Planning Commission did recommend conditional approval. Aside from all of our standard conditions, the applicant is required to submit a traffic study that will be routed to ADOT, and any improvements required by the traffic study will be required to be constructed. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board members, do you have any questions at this time?
Yes, Mr. Kirschman, thank you for coming. What's the speed limit right by there?
That is a 35-mile zone.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So, well, yeah, it's a transition because it's 35 right through the little town site area, and then it goes up to 50, I believe, right as you get to Civil Road.
Okay.
I think it goes down to 25 by the school, which is just east of there.
Correct.
Except when they're using the crosswalk. But anyway, okay, so I noticed, and I was glad to see that there's provision for a left turn lane in this plan.
Yeah, so in preliminary conversations with ADOT, it is actually anticipated that they will probably have to extend the left turn lane, or more commonly referred to as the chicken lane, the dual left turn lanes, from its existing area just to the east of the site all the way past Civil Road. So that is very likely going to be a requirement by their traffic study as well as ADOT.
Okay, that's fine, and I'm glad for that. What about a decel lane for westbound traffic for the same reason? Because you're talking about more potentially big RVs and big trucks going through there, and I don't want to have to come to a complete stop because RVs and trucks are waiting to turn in there or to get out.
Correct, and that'll all be dictated by the traffic study, and it is a state route, so ADOT will be the ultimate authority that approves that traffic statement and allows any or requires the improvements on that state route. It'll also look at Civil Road as well, which is a county-maintained road, and the county would have say on those improvements as well.
Okay, so basically what I think is that you're going from something that is now 2 lanes to something that is going to be essentially 4 lanes if you have a decel lane and a left turn lane.
Potentially, probably not 4 lanes the entire way, but again, it'll be dictated by the traffic study.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so who gets to pay for the additional lanes, asphalt, and so on?
The applicant.
Okay, that's what I thought. Would you put a special note in there that I would like a decel lane for westbound traffic?
Yes.
All right, appreciate that. And I was glad that there were no, I mean, what was the nature of the opposition to the project?
They didn't want additional traffic to be created in the area.
Okay. Thank you. That concludes my, go ahead.
Just to add to that, they did not show up to the Planning Commission hearing to speak. It was just a letter that was submitted.
Ms. Judd, this is in your district. Do you have any comments?
I do have comments. This one is something that I think the community would want. I'm not surprised that most of the comments were positive. And the question I had was, has there been any community outreach other than just our regular form letter that we sent out, or that they sent out asking for comments to the local people? Because I know that whenever something like this goes into a community, a lot of people are affected positively as well as sometimes they have issues. But I'm excited for it overall. And then my question, do you know of any other community meetings or public outreach?
So thank you, Supervisor Judd, Madam Chairman. The applicant actually sent out 2 notices to the neighbors because initially they were looking to rezone the entire parcel, including the RV park, to general business. They revised that. So they sent out 2 notices to the neighbors. They got overwhelming positive responses, so they didn't feel they needed to do any additional outreach. It's not required by our code. There was some discussion on some of the local Facebook pages up there, but overwhelmingly in support. The only comments echo the one that we got was concern about traffic. And staff would echo those concerns, which is why a traffic statement is going to be required and there will be improvements triggered.
Thank you. That's what I expected. Now we just need someone amazing like that to go down there to Sunsites and put in a gas station there. I couldn't help but say that. Thank you, Robert.
My only comment is I think that this is certainly a benefit to the traveling public and the people in St. David because there is no gas available there now. And so this would be something that they can look forward to. Every small community wants the ability to have gas and milk and bread available. Well, they've got the milk and bread, but no gas. So I think they're looking forward to it probably. Is there any other comments? I didn't have any indication from the public. Want to ask if the applicant is here. Certainly want to give them an opportunity before I close the public hearing.
I believe the applicant was going to phone in this morning.
Are you on the line, Mr. Goodman? Well, I wanted to make sure he had an opportunity to comment if you wish. So hearing nothing else, I'm going to close the public hearing. And if there are no further comments from the board, one last, then I'll call for the vote. No comments? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. The next we have a zoning ordinance. I need a motion so that we can open the public hearing.
Madam Chairman, I move that we adopt zoning ordinance 22-24 to rezone parcel 105-05-303 from SR 12 single family residential to GB general business pursuant to the application of Mr. Kirk Stevens.
I'll second that motion. So we have a motion and a second. I will open the public hearing for zoning ordinance 22-24.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The applicant, Mr. Stevens, is requesting to rezone the southern portion of his property from SR 12 to GB general business. The area south, the southern area of the property that is currently zoned SR 12 is only 7,000 square feet. So therefore it is currently undevelopable under the existing zoning, which requires a minimum of 12,000 square feet. The proposed use of the property is additional residential dwellings, and the current use of the property is a threeplex plus a manufactured home. The property is located north of Foothills and west of Highway 92 in the Sierra Vista area. This is the area to be rezoned. Essentially, we are just realigning the zoning boundary to match the parcel boundary. It's essentially what we're asking for your approval today. Staff did notify surrounding property owners within 300 feet of this property and we received no responses. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their November 9th meeting and voted unanimously to recommend approval to the Board of Supervisors. Staff also does recommend approval of this request.
And it wouldn't change the character of the area at all?
No, it's primarily residential. The existing use of the property is residential, and the applicant is proposing residential as well. And Mr. Stevens is here in the audience today if you may have an opportunity to speak.
Well, we always want to give the person who's coming to us for a change an opportunity. Mr. Stevens, did you want to speak with us? I have no questions. I didn't know if you had a statement that you wanted to give us or if you were happy with what the Planning and Zoning Director had said about your property. Okay. Board members, do you have any comments, questions, concerns?
I'm just curious where the city-county line is right there. Your map that's blue, red, and yellow.
Well, everything that's high or shaded is in the county.
Okay.
So there is on the corner there's that barber shop that's still in the county. It's very close. Foothills. If you go down Foothills, then a portion of that on the south is in the county. North in the city, there's a fairly large piece of property. I don't remember the name of the streets, but essentially that area is all pretty much county.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was close.
Any other questions or comments?
I don't have any, thank you.
Well, I will then close the public hearing if there are no other comments that are pertinent, and we do have a motion and a second on the floor. I'll ask one last time if there are any additional comments.
No further questions.
Hearing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. And now we will move to the action items on the agenda. And we start with item number 8, which was tabled. And so the first action needs to be to remove it from the table.
Madam Chair, I move we untable the item tabled from November 15th, 2022 meeting, approve payment for outside legal representation pursuant to the legal services agreement between the Valley Law Group, PLLC, and the Cochise County Board of Supervisors for outside legal representation in the matter of CV 202200. 518 Arizona Alliance of Retired Americans, Inc., and Stephanie Stevenson versus Tom Crosby and English, Peggy Judd, David Stevens, and Lisa Mara, all in their official capacities, entered into by Mr. Richard G. Karwatska, County Administrator, as directed by the board at the November 2nd, 2022 emergency meeting.
I second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Discussion.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Aye. Remove it from the table.
Was I supposed to ask for comments and you wanted to make one?
Yeah, I wanted to put into the record that the quote from Mr. Blem is, "The advance deposit to be paid for litigation was paid by private funds," end quote.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
So I had a conversation with Supervisor Judd yesterday. She gave me some more information regarding that the fee may have been paid. I contacted the Valley Law Group. I was a verbal conversation this morning from their office manager, and she informed me that there was no fee or retainer that needs to be paid, that was paid for by private funding, as Supervisor Crosby just mentioned. So at this point in time, there is no action that needs to be taken as this agenda item. I did ask for something in writing from the Valley Law Group to inform me and the board that there is no balance due, and the office manager indicated that she will be emailing that to me. So at this point in time, I believe the item just needs to be removed.
Okay, so we have removed it from the table, or the motion is to remove it from the table.
Sorry, just remove it from the agenda item because there's no
I know,
action.
but the motion now is to remove it from the table. We haven't voted on that.
As I believe there was a motion and a vote to remove it from the table, so it's been untabled. Supervisor Crosby has made it a statement, and then at this point in time, it's either a motion and second to take action on the agenda item, which there's no need to because there's no action need.
Okay, so at this point, we just move on.
Just move on, and that just remove this from the agenda item.
Well, we had people who wish to speak and people who wish to be opposed. And so for those people, so that I don't like to have people's voices not be heard. So I'm going to tell them that their speaker request forms and their opposition to this will be put in the record. And so it will be on the record, even though we're not going to beat the dead horse by having them speak, since we have removed it from the agenda. Okay? All right. So we now move on to item number 9, which is a long-awaited issue here. And so, Ms. Gilman,
Can we have a motion first?
if you'll give it, Peggy.
Yes. Madam Chair, I move that we approve the letter of conditions and grant agreement for the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, Rural Housing Service Grant Award of $1.1 million and the county estimated contribution of $1.98250 to fund the modular building demolition, building renovation, and potential new construction on the county property located at 915 Toverville Road, Bisbee, Arizona, for the purposes of a county animal shelter.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Gilman.
Thank you, Chairman English, Supervisor Crosby, Supervisor Judd. It has been a long-awaited item to bring to you today. The $1.1 million part of this grant from the USDA was appropriated through congressional funding request that was supported by Representative Ann Kirkpatrick. That was appropriated in the funding from the federal government early last spring in 2022. It has since been filtered through the USDA grant process, which has taken some time, but I'm very happy to say that we are now at this stage for seeking board approval for that grant. The project for the animal shelter is to remodel the county building on 915 Toverville Road in Bisbee. This is a former juvenile detention center for the county that has been vacant for quite some time. It has good bones, though, and so we think we can remodel it and demolish some of the modular buildings that have been worn over time, and then build a small clinic that will be there for spay and neuter and minor veterinary issues for animals that is much needed in this area, and that will help us reduce the pet population or the burden of unnecessary pet population. So that's the intent of the project. It will be a partnership with the Humane Society of Southern Arizona. They have pledged their support for this project in managing the shelter once it is up and running, and more agreements will be coming your way regarding that partnership down the road. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board before I ask for public comment? I have several people who wish to speak. Ms. Judd?
I just want to say hooray, hooray. I look forward to this. And she didn't mention, but it's very near the Bisbee Animal Shelter, and that is a good thing for them too. It's just a nice little neighborhood, and it does centralize and upgrade our shelter condition in our county. So I'm all in favor of it. So anyway, I look forward to hearing from the public.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, why is demolition of the modular building contemplated as opposed to doing something else with it?
There are, as I recall, 3 buildings that are modular, and they have, I can show you at the site, some of them have separated from their foundation quite a bit. Some are just so downtrodden that to replace them or remodel them would be more expensive than demolishing them and building something new. There's one that's so tiny, it was a more of a shed for when for video visitation of the juveniles, and so it's really doesn't serve a purpose even in a new plan. So to clear it out of the way would be ideal.
Thank you.
Okay, we have speaker request forms. I believe that I will just name all of them so you can be ready to speak, since there are 4. Mary Moran is first. Jer Friedenberg, second. Teresa Worrell, fourth. Third. And Yvonne Meyer, fourth. You give us your name, address, and you have 3 minutes, Mary.
It won't take 3 minutes. Mary Moran, Hereford, Arizona. On behalf of the over was it 8,000 petition signatures who are approving this amazing centralized county animal shelter. Thank you.
Okay, next is Jared Friedenberg.
Jerry Friedenberg. It's not Friedenberg, it's Fredenberg.
Okay, Friedenberg.
It's either. Sierra Vista. First, foremost, thank you to the board. Thank you to the staff for listening for our request for a new county animal shelter. Second, I've provided you an example of why speed is of the essence. I've given you a copy of a dog's description, the way the animal was euthanized, a statement from the citizens that have viewed this type of euthanasia, and why the dog should not have been put to sleep. Resources were available. There are also multiple accounts of what happened, but the bottom line is Douglas is overwhelmed. They are taking the dogs that Huachuca City used to take, and it is detrimental to the animals and it's detrimental to the staff. I feel for them. Finally, perhaps consider a work session to talk about timeframes, proposed occupancy dates, who manages the shelter, because it wasn't clear for sure that HSSA would, what the procedures will be for accepting animals, and considering the number of kennels. Huachuca City had 18 kennels and they were always full. What I see in the proposal is 10 kennels. So perhaps consideration. But the biggest thing is thank you. We really appreciate that we will have a county shelter. Thank you.
Teresa?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Teresa Worrell. I live in Hereford. I'm the president and co-founder of Horse and Around Rescue Ranch and Foundation, and I'm honored to speak on the behalf of the rescue to support this proposal of the centralized animal shelter in Cochise County. I've lived over 24 years at the Single Star Ranch in Hereford, and we have seen many, many stray dogs and animals come through our area, even a few pigs. I know that, in short, the community and the county are going to be of great support to the ongoing project at hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Yvonne Meyer. Or is it Mayor?
Good morning. I'm Yvonne Mayer, and I'm representing the Cochise County Humane Society. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. Cochise County Humane Society has been active in Cochise County for over 40 years. Our mission is to provide financial assistance to the elderly and low-income folks in Cochise County to have their pets spayed and neutered. We also fund a very large trap, neuter, and return program for feral cats. But we're not doing this alone. The animal welfare groups in Cochise County work together. We are not in competition. By working together, we can do so much more than one group by itself. We have a unique opportunity here to work with the Humane Society of Southern Arizona and their resources, our resources, the county resources. This is wonderful. We thank you so much for funding this much needed county animal shelter. Thank you.
Well, we should give thanks to Congressman Kirkpatrick, who started this ball rolling. USDA seems to be the avenue, because anytime you get congressional money awarded to you, it has to come through one of the services of the federal government. And so this one came to us from the USDA. So it's been a long process. Sharon has tried to ride herd over it and keep it going, and we appreciate that, Sharon. Does the board members have any other questions or comments before I call for the vote? Yes, Chair.
I just wanted to let you know that Steve Farley, the Executive Director of the Humane Society, is on Teams if you have any questions for him or if you'd like for him to comment at all.
Well, welcome, Steve, even though you're on Teams. I know that you've been a significant factor in trying to help us to promote this, and I think it probably was one of the reasons that we got funded through Congressman Kirkpatrick's office, because they knew that you were standing behind us and you have a good reputation. Did you want to add anything now that I've built you up?
Well, thank you, Supervisor English. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Supervisor Crosby and Supervisor Judd. This is a very exciting collaboration. I'm really excited for your vision, all three of you, to invite us in. As you know, we've been committed and we are already working in Cochise County extensively. And we've already ramped up a lot of our programs to be able to transfer in homeless pets from various shelters in Cochise County, including in Douglas. But the ability to be able to have a public clinic and public shelter in Bisbee will provide so many important services that are currently very hard for residents to get. So we're looking forward to working with you on this and collaborating long into the future to be able to save lives in Cochise County with your partnership. Thank you so much for all your work on this one. We're looking forward to moving ahead and being able to do everything we can to serve the citizens and pets of Cochise County. Thank you.
And we thank you, Steve. Any other questions or comments from the board members before I call for the vote?
No further questions.
Ms. Judd?
No, thank you.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Now we look at development services. Mr. Coxworth. Could I have a motion from the board for approving the contract with Wilcox Aviation?
Madam, I move we approve contract with Wilcox Aviation LLC to provide fixed-based operator services at the Cochise County Airport in Wilcox, effective January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2032, with optional 5-year extensions.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is it important that we add the 2 optional 5-year extensions, or is that?
Did I miss that?
Well, you missed the word 2.
Oh.
You said with optional 5-year extensions.
I'm sorry.
And the motion had 2.
Okay, starting with the year 2032, comma, with 2 optional 5-year extensions. Pardon
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Cox.
I'll second that change.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. So this is to approve a contract for a new fixed-based operator and FBO at the Cochise County Airport in Wilcox. The current FBO, Walden Aviation, who is owned and operated by Luis and Jim Walden, are retiring after 30 years of operating the Cochise County Airport. And I do want to take a moment to thank them for their service to the county. They have helped me greatly and made my job a lot easier in overseeing the airports that we have here, the 2 airports that we have here in Cochise County. The county posted a request for proposals, and the winning bid was submitted by Wilcox Aviation LLC. It is owned by Mike Ware, who currently owns and operates a flight school at the airport. Wilcox Aviation LLC was selected because they demonstrated an ability to run and manage the airport, but also an interest in growing the operations and investing in the airport in coordination with Cochise County. So that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Hey, any questions or comments?
The more general aviation, the better.
Ms. Judd?
And I want to say thank you to Louise and Jim also. The Waldens have been amazing out there, and I have a lot of good experiences and memories with them. It's exciting to have somebody invested on board. So I'm 100% behind this. I'm excited about it.
Thanks, Dan. The people in Wilcox are asking for more services, more abilities, and so this is the beginning of a new era out there. So thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there any further comments before I call for the vote? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Excuse me. Next, Health and Social Services. I need a motion for approving amendments to some intergovernmental agreements.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve Amendment 2 to Intergovernmental Agreement IGA CTR 040475. STD control
You're breaking up.
services
You're breaking up. Are you on the phone?
DHS and coaching consultants, 55,008. Oh, sorry. I'm not moving. I'm in. Can I just start over? Are you going to be able to hear me, do you think? In the amount of $55,878 to revise the price sheet effective January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. You might have to have Mr. Crosby do this, and I'll just second it.
That may be
Solar wind. Solar wind.
You aren't coming clear, Peggy, so it probably would be appropriate for Mr. Crosby to make the motions from now on.
That's fine. I can hear you just fine. You're not breaking up from that end. So let him make the motions, and I will second.
Okay, would you like to repeat that, Mr.
Ready?
Crosby?
Okay. Approve Amendment 2 to Intergovernmental Agreement IGA CTR 040475 STD Control Services between the Arizona Department of Health Services, ADHS, and Cochise Health and Social Services in the amount of $55,878 to revise the price sheet effective January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022.
Now you can
I'll
second it.
that.
Okay.
I'll
Now we have a
second it.
motion in a second. So, Maria?
Thank you so much. So basically what we're presenting, this is, just to give a little bit of background, this is Amendment 2 for a grant that we already hold in place, our STD Control Services. And back in September 2021, an amendment was submitted to hire a part-time STD disease investigator to work with our STD program coordinator. Later in the year, though, it was discovered that we needed to make some changes in the budget lines to make sure that the funding was available to cover personnel expenses and employee-related expenses. So because of these changes, we did need to submit an amendment, which is this amendment that I'm presenting, and we're requesting for that approval.
To keep your finances correct.
Yes. To keep the finance.
Any questions or comments from the board members?
No, I read it and I am ready.
Ms. Judd? Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Judd, can you vote? The chair votes aye. It's 2, no comment from Ms. Judd. It is approved and we will move forward. Next is item number 12, a professional services agreement. Let's have a motion on that. Tom, if you would mind.
Item number 12, approve professional services agreement PSA 2023-13 HEA 01A 01F for medical examiner transport, indigent and abandoned body burial, and or internment of cremain services effective November 29th, 2022 through November 30th, 2027 with the following Cochise County Funeral Homes: Richardson Benson Mortuary, West Lawn Chapel and Mortuary, Alex Espinoza Bisbee Funeral Home, Jensen Sierra Vista Mortuary, Hatfield Funeral Home, and Brown Page Mortuary.
Are you available?
Second.
Did I hear a second? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Thompson, would you, I'm sure it's self-explanatory, but go ahead and give us the...
Sure. The contracts with the funeral homes have 3 distinct components: medical examiner transport, mortuary services for indigent and abandoned decedents, and interment services of indigent and abandoned cremains. It is not required for funeral homes to contract to provide all three services. In other words, they can choose which of these three services they want to provide. The funeral homes have been providing these services to Cochise County since 2012 and have not had a current contract since 2016. So their reimbursements for these services have not been updated since 2016. So I met with each of the funeral directors to negotiate pricing that is fair and up to date for these services, and that is what is contained in their contracts. An addition with these contracts that hadn't occurred with the previous is that the reimbursement for the transportation of the decedents that need to be transported to the medical examiner, we used a calculation this time based on how many miles away from the medical examiner's office it is. And the mileage is just one component of the cost for the funeral homes. They also have the cost of going out and getting the decedent from wherever the decedent is and bring it back to their funeral home so that they can then arrange for a time to transport the decedent to the medical examiner. That includes cost of personnel to do that work, the cost of the additional going out and getting the decedent from wherever they passed away. And also there's these trays that they used. I learned a lot going and visiting the different funeral homes. And so I believe that these contracts are fair and equitable across all the funeral homes, and they also agree that it's fair and equitable. So I would ask respectfully that you would approve these contracts.
And it provides us a great service.
Yes, a necessary service.
Yes. Any questions or comments from board members?
No, just thank you, Dr. Thompson, for taking that on.
Ms. Judd, do you have any comments?
Thank you also. I was learning a lot too, just from the description and from your little speech today. Thank you. I appreciate our funeral homes.
Yes, they provide us an excellent service.
Right. Well, it's good that we update things occasionally, and we always ask for our departments to verify the costs that we have, and you've done that with the funeral homes. Now we know what we're paying for. I hear no other comments. I'm going to call for the vote if there's nothing else to be said. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. The next one, we need a motion on another intergovernmental agreement. Tom, you're the motion maker.
Okay. Item number 13, approve. I move we approve intergovernmental agreement IGA CTR 060269 immunization services between the Arizona Department of Health Services, ADHS, and Cochise Health and Social Services to create a new contract number for 5 IGAs previously approved under ADHS 18-177-676 effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2024.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Thompson?
Yes. So although this is a new contract, all of the funds that are named in this contract were already presented and approved by the Board of Health for between fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 21, excuse me. And so what happened is that during an audit at the state level, they realized that the general immunization contract, which is where they had put all of these amendments, that they could not do that legally. So they separated the regular immunization contract into its own IGA, and now they've created this IGA for all of those additional funds. And so it's a little bit tricky, but on the executive summary, we did list all of the approval dates for the components that are listed out on that price sheet of this new IGA.
Well, the only thing I noticed that you said it was approved by the Board of Health and it was the Board of Supervisors.
Did I say that? Did I say it in here or just with my words?
Just your words.
Oh, I apologize. I
So,
stand
if
corrected.
people are listening,
Board
I
of
wanted them to know that the
Supervisors,
Board of Health doesn't make decisions.
No.
The Board of Supervisors.
It does not.
Any questions or comments from the board members?
Yes, I would like the county to get out of the vaccine business, as I have mentioned previously, and that is because of COVID vaccines, adverse reactions of miscarriages and myocarditis.
So noted. Any comments, Ms. Judd?
No, thank you.
Okay. If there's no further comments, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
The records show that Mr. Crosby votes nay, and it's still so ordered. Item number 14. I need a motion again, Tom.
Okay.
Speak up.
Item number 14, approve Amendment 2 to Intergovernmental Agreement IGA CTR 055207 Public Health Emergency Preparedness Program between the Arizona Department of Health Services, ADHS, and the Cochise Health and Social Services in the amount of $241,241 effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Thompson.
Okay, so the Arizona Department of Health Services, through the Bureau of Public Health Emergency Preparedness, has been working with Arizona counties and tribes to improve the preparedness of each community in the event of any public health emergency. Most of these projects were funded by grants from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This agreement is designed to increase participation in the ongoing development of the state and county health preparedness infrastructure through the CDC Public Health Preparedness Cooperative Agreement with ADHS. Our FEP team participates in regional healthcare coalition meetings and conference calls, maintains response plans, participates in regional emergency preparedness planning, develops and maintains mutual aid agreements with other jurisdictions, participates in work groups to enhance the medical electronic data disease surveillance and intelligence system, participates in epidemiology, specific trainings, workshops, or conferences, participates in required statewide regional public health exercises, and in strategic national stockpile, receiving, staging, and storing exercises, and completes tasks outlined in Amendments 7 and 8 for COVID-19 mitigation efforts. This IGA just adds another year of funding to our current FEP program.
And they were even active locally when we had the flooding.
Absolutely.
Because that was a public health emergency as well as a
the
road
flooding and the straight line wind event.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Any comments, questions from board members?
Thank you, Madam Chair. She can go first if she wants.
I think she just said no.
I don't have any. Thank you.
I find that the word emergency is abused as a reason to erode rights. There is no pandemic clause in either the U.S. or the Arizona Constitution, although our founders were well aware of what a epidemic was, like the Black Plague. So reading the contract information, it says the contractor shall 3.4.1 comply with existing and or future directives and guidance from the HHS CD Secretary regarding control of the spread of COVID-19. So if one were to vote for this item, they would be voting again for what they don't know are future directives. 3.4.2 consult and coordinate with HHS CDC to provide commensurate with the condition of the individual COVID-19 patient care regardless of the individual's home jurisdiction and or appropriate public health measures, e.g. social distancing and home isolation. And finally, 3.4.3, assist the United States government in the implementation and enforcement of federal orders related to quarantine and isolation. And I'm against that.
That's what I figured after all that. People were going to be against it. Is there any comments from Ms. Judd before I call for the vote?
I just want to say with the right leadership in our county, we have been able to make good decisions, but not ones that affected our citizenry, especially we're in the rural nature of our communities. I don't feel like we were hurt as badly as they are in the big cities. And I feel fortunate that we have people that pay attention, but I am like Mr. Crosby in that way. I do want to fight for our freedoms, and it's kind of hard whenever people in Washington or even Phoenix are deciding what an emergency is. And in particularly my little farming community, it's a whole different ball game. An emergency is different to different people. So, but I'm still in favor of keeping the lessons that we learned in COVID and moving forward. It's going to be a lot harder for anybody to put onerous restrictions on the people of Cochise County. It's going to be a lot harder next time. So I'm not as afraid of it as I might have been had I not had that experience. And it's not because I don't appreciate Ms. Thompson or the fact that, sometimes things happen. So, but I do understand, I do have a question. I understand that this is not about anything but health, like a health type plague or condition. It wouldn't be about a wildfire or things like that. This is outside of that realm, isn't it?
Okay,
Madam
did you have
Chair?
anything
Yes,
you wanted
ma'am.
to add, Ms.?
I did want to remind the board that these public health emergency preparedness funds became available after 9/11 and the assault on the United States. And that is when public health emergency preparedness became embedded within public health. And yes, and in response to your question, Supervisor Judd, recently the Bowie Water District went down and the town of Bowie was without water. Public health was able to go out there and help them with education, understanding how they needed to respond to not having water. And then when the water did come back on, there was a boil water warning that they needed to boil the water. And it's not as simple as bringing the water to a boil. So we were also able to provide the residents of Bowie with education on how to ensure that when they did use their water after it was turned back on, to make sure that it was safe. Whenever there is a fire event, public health is very much involved in supporting any efforts to shelter individuals who have been evacuated. We work very closely with the American Red Cross as they are the ones who set up the shelter. However, public health is very active in ensuring that the individuals who have been displaced and are being sheltered within those shelters are receiving adequate care, and both behavioral health care and mental health care, or physical health.
Thank you. That was a perfect answer. And I thought I understood there was more to it. I just kind of got led off the path a little bit there. But I do appreciate that, especially in Bowie. I was in close contact with them that whole couple of days, and it was amazing how well prepared they were for it. And my answers when I asked how it was going, individuals or the fire department or over there were always like, "We're just fine. We got this." When they first said that they had called Dan Deshawn, I was like, "Oh, you're going to be okay." And they really did they really did appreciate you, and I appreciate you. So thanks for that. Good to know that it does other things, whatever's needed that has to do with health. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think we here at the county recognize that there is definitely a relationship between emergency services
Yes,
and public health emergency services.
yes.
So now they're working together
Yes.
and it makes a fine team, you know, so that there's not two different tracks. They're both on the same team. Did you have any additional comments?
Nope.
Okay. Ms. Judd, any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All those are opposed? Mr. Crosby votes no. Still, it is approved and we move on. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Thompson.
you.
Mr. Karwachka, do you have a report or do we need to sort of compress everything since we have a meeting that should have started 25 minutes ago?
We should compress everything, so I have no comment.
Okay. Summary of current events. Again, I'm going to ask unless you have something really important to say, each one of the supervisors. We are late for a meeting. And so,
I always have something important to say.
okay. Speak
Okay,
up.
so.
Make sure it's a
the,
current event. Okay.
I believe voting machines are a current event. And the voting machine issue dovetails into what I just said about the term emergency being abused. And so what I'm looking at here is a page from the EAC website of August 4th, 2021, provided to me by Brian Steiner, which is documented proof that some of our speakers were wondering about earlier. And I'm just going to read this excerpt. The scheduled audit of Pro V&V in 2020 was postponed due to COVID-19. So COVID-19 here is again used as a failed excuse for what I believe is violating people's rights. 52 U.S.C. does not allow for blanket continuation of a contract retroactively or usurp the 2-year requirement for renewal in the 2.0 manual. And this is a page from January 30th, 2021 from the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. And just a sentence down here. Due to the outstanding circumstances posed by COVID-19, the renewal process for EAC laboratories has been delayed for an extended period. The use of COVID-19 as an excuse for both SLI conformance and Pro V&V lack of renewal process is another example of the declared emergency of COVID being used to, as I said, violate people's rights with regard to these voting machine certification issues. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Judd, did you have anything that you wanted to add in the current event?
I'm going to pass.
Okay. Next meeting was supposed to start at 11. From the clock on the wall, it looks to be 11:25. Tim, what does it say on the computer? I can't. 11:23. So I'm going to ask that we take a 7-minute break and start at 11:30, and that will be in the executive conference room, and it will be with the flood control district project. So having said that, meeting adjourned.